right, I will say good morning. Let's begin. The last purpose is very interesting halacha. So, for example, Oyim Kamaracha makes himself present. What does that mean? Mikan Amr Rabbi Eliezer. Im mishiyatza even mitachas yado, hotzi hala es rosho v'kibla pater. It will say if Reuben throws the and at the time he threw the stone, Shimon was not present. And after Reuben threw the stone, Shimon stuck out his head and unfortunately was subsequently struck in the head by the stone and killed. So Reuben is pater from Golus in that situation. He's pater from going into exile. Why? Because of earlier. In order for the forest, different part of the pasuk. Ma'yar mills of kara, just like the forest where all of this occurred, is something which existed from the beginning. Af matzah milsa de kara. So to matzah also refers to what something that existed from the beginning. Good. Ubehektish. Then I will say, remember again, the Mishnah contrasted this, that where you have all of these limitations in the redemption of Steachuza, none of these limitations apply to the redemption of Hektish. Says the Gemara, how do I know this distinction? So the Tan Rabbanan, Im Ga'ol Yigal, we'll say, so the Pasuk says, Vim Ga'ol Yigal Esad Hamakdish. So what does this mean? Melamed, so the double lotion of Ga'ol Yigal teaches me, Shalove V'goa L'chatzah. Number one, you could redeem things partially. Right? You could redeem things partially. Amr Reb Shimon Matam, Lefi Shematzin L'moches Te'achuza Shiafa Kochel. Supposed to listen to this. Why the distinction between the redemption of Hektish and redemption of Steachuza? So just very simply put, for example, Steachuza, you either redeem all of it or nothing. Yet by Hektish, there is such a concept of a partial redemption. So why that distinction? To which the Gemara says, because when it comes to someone who sells Steachuza, on one hand, he has strong rights. How so? That if he does not redeem it by the time the Yovel year comes, it returns back to the owners. Yet, Hora Kocho, ultimately again, his rights are compromised. He can't borrow money to redeem, nor can he redeem partially. And also when it comes to one who is makdish his field, where his rights are compromised, if he does not redeem it by the yovel, it becomes the property of the kohanim. His rights are amplified in that he can partially redeem it as well as borrow to redeem it. So what it sounds like over here, what the Gemara is saying is that the way that these halachos are structured is you have certain areas in which your rights are strong, certain areas in which your rights are compromised. So every single one of these situations has to have strengths and weaknesses. So the strength by steachuza is that if you don't redeem it, it becomes yours again by yovel. The weakness is you can't borrow to redeem it and you can't redeem it partially. Hekdish, the weakness is if you don't redeem it by the yovel, it becomes property of the kohanim. The strength is you can even redeem it partially or borrow to redeem it. Top of Lamed Aleph. Tani Chada, Love v'goel lechatzon. Tanya idach ino goel v'goel ve'ino love v'goel ve'ino goel lechatzon. So also now the Gemara says that in the case of one who is makdish asteachuza, we seem to have contradictory brises. One brisa says that you can borrow money to redeem it and redeem it partially, and one brisa says you cannot do this. So how do we account for this? Lokashya harabanan v'harabi Shimon. Two different opinions. Good. Says the Mishnah. We'll say now we come into the topic of Bate Arechoma, right? Ultimately, again, selling of homes in walled cities. What's the halacha? Mocher bayis bebate arechoma. If someone sells a home in a walled city, harei ze gol miyaz. We'll say so. Interesting. Halacha number one is that there is no waiting period for redemption. So if you sell a home within a walled city, you have the right to redeem it immediately. However, as opposed to, let's say, steachuza, where you have to wait how long? 2 years, right? A home in an erechoma, you sell it, you can redeem it that day. Go miyad, v'goal kol shnei masar chodesh. And ultimately, again, you could redeem it all 12 months. So also you have 1 year in order to redeem your home in a walled city. If you do not go ahead and redeem that home, ultimately what? The halacha is it becomes the permanent property of the purchaser and does not revert back to you during the Yovel year. Just a word about this. The Sefer HaChinuch explains that the reason for this halacha is actually quite fascinating. He says more often than not, walled cities were border cities. Border cities are absolutely necessary for the security and safety of the residents of Eretz Yisrael. In order for border cities to be a bastion of a front line of security, the residents have to know each other and have to be able to work in concert with one another. If real estate is constantly changing hands in walled cities, Sefer HaChinuch posits, that compromises the security of Eretz Yisrael. That's why the halacha is such that, again, if you sell your home, you have 1 year to redeem it. But if you do not redeem it, it does not come back to you in Yovel year. It becomes the permanent property of the purchaser. Very interesting halacha for the security of Eretz Yisrael. So the Gemara goes on. Now I will say this is actually quite amazing. So now we've just established if you sell it, you can redeem it immediately, and you have 1 year to redeem it. Harezek kamin ribis ve'ino ribis. And the Gemara, the Mishnah just points out, by the way, this when you buy back your home, it's almost like a form of interest, but it's not interest. Now I will say, why is it a form of interest? This is fascinating. When you buy back your home in a walled city, you refund the entire purchase price. So I will say, as opposed to other forms of redemption, where you don't return the entire purchase price, but you return the purchase price prorated, right? The person has used the field for X amount of years. There is a special halacha by Bayis Yerchoma, a home in a walled city. If I sell my home to Ruvain for $100,000, and what? I redeem it. Ultimately, again, he gives me the money, and I redeem it a month later, I give him back the full $100,000. I redeem it 11 months later, I give him back the full $100,000. I refund the entire purchase price. So we'll say, so watch this. So what does that mean? Reuven gets back his money. What else does he get? He also gets the value of having lived in that home for some amount of time. That sounds a lot like ribis. That sounds a lot like interest, right? Reuben is getting back his principal plus, right? Plus, and remember again, there's a value to that. Living in a home rent-free, living in a house in a walled city rent-free, there's a value to that. So the Mishnah says, sounds a lot like ribis, but it's not ribis. So Rashi here points out, why is it not ribis? Rashi's girsa was, Eino ribis gemura. It's not real ribis. The ribis lo mikri ela al yedei hava v'lo al yedei mecher. So Rashi's logic is because ribis, interest, is a concept associated with loans, and this is not a loan. Bless you. This is not a loan. This is a sale. So because of that, although it resembles ribis, it's not real ribis. We're going to talk about this in the Gemara. Meis hamocher yigavano. We'll say if the seller dies, his son has the right to redeem the property. Meis halokeach, if the purchaser dies, yigal miyad bino. So then the seller has the ability to redeem the property from the son of the purchaser. Ein monin shana ela misha shemachar. We only count the year from the time that the house was sold. In other words, we'll say, as opposed to saying, well, it's in the Gemara, as opposed to saying a year means just a calendrical year, right? Not 12 months. But if you sell it on June 17th of 2019, so you have till the end of till the end of 57, 79 cents. You see, right? So you have until the end of the calendrical year. It's not like that. Rather, you have 12 months. Shene'emar ad malos lo shana. Kishu omer tamima, when the pasuk says tamima, a complete year, lahavi es chodesh ha'ibur, that comes to include a leap year. So we'll say, so if you end up going ahead and selling the property in a leap year, you could have up to 13 months in order to go ahead and redeem that property. So we'll say, so in other words, the leap year works in the favor of the seller. It gives him an extra month to be able to go ahead and redeem his property. If 12 months elapse and you did not redeem your property, then what's the halacha? Haisa chaluta lo. Then ultimately, again, the property becomes the absolute property of the purchaser. Echad halokech ve'echad hanitelo matana shene'emar litzmisus. And above said these halachos apply whether you sold the home or whether you gifted the home. The halachos, as the aforementioned halachos, apply over shene'emar litzmisus. We'll see what that means in the Gemara. Says the Rambam. Says look Rabbi. Our Mishnah clearly does not reflect the view of Rabbi. Why not? Tisanya, Rabbi Omer Yamim Ein Yamim Pachos Mishnayim. So we'll say, interesting enough, Rabbi holds that the word Yamim, right? The pasuk says Yamim. V'ishki yimkar beis moshav ir choma v'haisa gulaso atom shnas mimkaro Yamim tehegi ulaso. Rabbi says that Yamim means like this: when you sell a home in a walled city, you cannot redeem the home for the first 2 days after you sell it. There's a 2-day redemption moratorium. 2 days. Suppose the Mishnah said that what? The Mishnah indicated that once you sell your home in a walled city, then what? Halach lamai, so you could redeem it immediately. So clearly the Mishnah does not reflect the view of Rabbi. The Rabbanan, hayomim my abis. So what do the Rabbanan do with the yomim? Mi baile miyom liyom. Ultimately, and about say they use yomim to teach me what? Miyom liyom. So Rashi points out over here, Shim machra be'echad nisan, ein monin shalom inyan olam delema kema shegia tishrei osel oshana. So I'll say, so the Rabbanan use yom liyom to teach me that it's not a calendrical year that defines my year, but rather, again, it's literally a year to the day. That if I sold the property to Ruvain, for example, on the 1st of Nisan, I have until not the end of Tishrei of that year, or I should say until Tishrei of the following year, but rather, again, I have until the 1st of Nisan of the next year, a real year. The Rebbe, miyom liyom minale. So we'll say, where does Rebbe learn this out from? That you have a real 12 months, a real year. Nafkale me'ad tom shnas mimkaro. He learns it out from the phrase until the end of the year of this sale. The Rabbanan, hahumi baile, they use that phrase, shnas mimkaro shelo v'lo shnas minyan olam, that it's 1 year of the sale and not the calendrical year. The yamim miba'ilahu leme'es le'es. And I will say ultimately again the word yamim. Marish teaches me, this is actually quite fascinating, of me'es le'es. That I will say literally again, not only do I have until the next year the same day, but I have until the next year the same day, the same time. The same time. So I will say clearly what you see is we're looking to expand the redemption window for the seller as much as possible. It's not a calendrical year, it's an actual year. It's not just the year, but it's actually mamish to the hour of the sale. Because otherwise, was it right? A year would mean until the beginning of the calendrical day. So if I sold, let's say if I sold the property to Ruvain at 1 p.m. on the 1st of Nisan, if it's just a year, then ultimately again it comes Seisak Kochavim of the 1st of Nisan, so the year is up. Now the Rabbanan are saying, no, Miyom Liyom, or I should say, Yomim teaches me that what? It's mamish until 1 p.m. on the 1st of Nisan the following year. Di'ime ad Tom Shnas Mem Karo, because they'll say just from the phrase Tom Shnas Mem Karo, Hava Amina Miyom Liyom in Me'es Le'es Lo, I would have thought you have a year up until the same calendrical date in the following year, but lav dafka until the hour, the same exact hour of the sale. Therefore, kasev rachmana yamim. Therefore, the Torah says yamim. The Rabbi me'es la'es minale. Where does Rabbi learn out that not only do you have until the same day next year, but until the same hour next year to redeem your house? Nafkale mitimima. He learns it out ultimately from the word timima. The Rabbanan Harumi Baile Liibura. The Rabbanan used Timima to teach me what? That if it's a leap year, the leap year is included in the 1 year window of the seller. The Rabbi Hai Nami Mibaile Liibura. But Rabbi also needs this to teach me about the leap year. To which the Gemara says, Hachanami Miyom Liyom Ume'es Le'es. Miyom Yom Me'es Le'es. Me'ad Tom Shnas Mem Karo Nafka. So I'll say ultimately, Rebbe learns out the concept miyom liyom, namely that you have until the next calendrical year, and me'is le'is, that you have until the exact hour. He learns both of those concepts from Tom Shnas Mimkara. So both say, so although they are different, so really the point of contention between Rebbe and the Rabbanan is that according to Rebbe, you cannot redeem the house for the first 2 days after the sale. The Rabbanan reject that concept. The Rambam Paskins like the Rabbanan, that ultimately when you sell a home in a walled city, you can redeem that home immediately. You can redeem it immediately. So that's the point of contention of Avose. But aside from that, they agree on everything else. Namely that what? You have an entire year, i.e. until the same exact day, the calendrical date, the next year. Not only that, so you have until what? The same exact time on that same exact date in the following year on which to redeem your home. Good. Harezek min ribis. So as I remember again, so the Mishnah said this is really quite fascinating, because apparently now when you repurchase your home in the walled city, you are refunding the entire purchase price, irrespective of how long the purchaser has lived in the home during that year. To which the Gemara says, sounds a lot like ribis, sounds a lot like interest. That ultimately the purchaser is getting back his money plus the value of having lived in the home during that time, now rent-free. Yet the Gemara says it's not ribis. Goes listen to this. The Gemara says we have another brayso. The brayso says, oh, it's ribis. It's ribis. Just the Torah permits it. Torah permits it. So in other words, again, the brayso says, you don't have to be apologetic about God, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says this is the way it works. So this is the way it works. This is the way it works. It is ribis. Of course it's ribis, right? You're refunding ultimately, again, the entire purchase price plus the value of having lived in the home. That is ribis. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says it is permissible ribis. To which the Gemara says, so which one is it? Because the Brisa says it is ribis, yet the Torah permits it. The Mishnah said that what? It's not ribis. Am Rabbi Yochanan lo kasha, HaRav Yehuda HaRabbanan. Listen to this. Listen to this. Let's say I lent Ruvain $1,000. And what happened? So Ruvain gives me a field. And he says like this. If I don't pay you back, essentially collateral, if I don't pay you back, the field is yours. So what happens? Bisman Shem HaMocher Ochel Peros. Now watch this. Let's say I go ahead and I lend Reuben the money on the 1st of Tammuz. Here's $1,000. He says, good, here's my field. If I don't pay you back by the 1st of Tishrei, the field is yours. Okay, no problem there. Where does the problem come up? Who's consuming the produce of the field in the interim? Right? Between Tammuz and Tishrei, who's consuming the produce? So it says the Mishnah, Achel Peros, so I'm sorry, Bizman Shamocher Ochel Peros, if the seller is consuming the produce, mutter, then ultimately this arrangement is permitted, right? Meaning the seller being the borrower in this case. Ruvain, the owner of the field, is consuming the produce, fine. Or however, lokeach ochel peros aser. But if I, the lender, am consuming the produce between Tammuz and Tishrei, that's problematic. Why? That's called ribis. Why is that called ribis, Rabbi? Because ultimately, again, if I end up getting paid back, then halacha l'maisa, not only do I get the value of the loan, but what? I also got the produce in the interim. To which the Gemara says, Rabbi Huda says, Af bizman shah halokeach ochel peros muter. So Rabbi Huda says, no, even when the purchaser, right, which means it means in this case the lender, even if the lender is going ahead and consuming the produce, it is still permitted. We'll see why that is in just a moment. I remember Yehuda, Ma'aseh b'baitos shel ben zunin she'asa sadeu mecha pi Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah v'lokeach ochel peros haya. Because there was once an episode, where it tells a story, of Baitos ben Zonin, who borrowed money, gave his field as collateral, and ultimately, again, the lender was consuming the produce based on the instruction of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. To which the Gemara says, Amlo misham raya. That's your proof. Mocha ochel peros haya v'lo lokeach. Although you have your information wrong. It was not the lender was consuming the produce, but rather it was the borrower. So we'll say, what is the point of contention here? This is actually quite fascinating. Sad echad beribis ikavanah. We'll say, listen to this. A one-sided ribis transaction. Sad echad beribis. Sad echad beribis means like this. The paradigmatic example of a ribis transaction is where the ribis is definite. I lend you $1,000 and you're obligated to pay me back $1,200. That's ribis. That's ribis. Schar hamtanos mos. I gave you money. I lost out on the opportunity to use that money. You're going to pay me back principal plus interest. That sad echad ribis means like this: a transaction that may or may not result in ribis. So we'll say an example of that. I lend Reuben $1,000. He gives me a field. Now, how does this transaction work? In the event that he does not pay me back the money, then what? The field is mine. When is the field mine? As of the initial date of the transaction, right? If he does pay me back, then Allah I give him back the field. So we'll say, so is this a ribis transaction? It depends. What does it depend on? If Reuven pays me back and I've been consuming the produce this entire time, then that's ribis, because I get principal plus produce, and the produce is interest. But if Reuven never pays me back, then it turns out that ex post facto, this was my field anyway. In which case, I am consuming my produce. That's called sad echad beribis. It may or may not result in a ribis reality. So we'll say that's the machlokes. Tanakama suffered sad echad beribis aser. Tanakama holds that even what we'll call it's not really one-sided ribis. Is not really the right word. I don't know the good technical word for it. It's like contingency ribis, right? Contingency interest situation. So Rabbi holds sad echad beribis is aser. Rabbi Huda suffered sad echad beribis muter. And Rabbi Huda holds that ultimately against sad echad beribis would be muter. So we'll say, so remember again, this is the machlokes in our Mishnah, ultimately in the Gemara. So the Gemara said that this case of a home in the walled city, the Brisa said that this is ribis gemura. It's absolute ribis. We'll say, now remember again, let's talk this out for just a moment. I sell my home in the walled city to Reuven. Is this a ribis transaction or not? So the answer is, it depends. If I end up redeeming the home, then yeah, that's ribis, because Reuven gets the full purchase price, because his full purchase, plus the amount of time he lived in the home. If I never redeem it, then it's not ribis. This is a case of sad echad beribis, a possible ribis transaction. The Rabbanan will say that's called ribis. That's the Brisa. The Brisa says this is absolutely a ribis transaction, but the Torah permits it. Versus Rabbi Huda, who holds that halacha l'maisa, like the Mishnah, that this is not real ribis. This is not real ribis gemura, because Rabbi Huda holds that tzarech b'ribis is going to be mutter. To which the Gemara says, fine, Rava Amar Beis. Rava says no. The Kuli Amar tzarech b'ribis aser. Rava holds, everyone holds, that we'll call this tzad echad, this contingency ribis situation is absolutely aser. The hacha b'ribis amanas lahachzir ikabin. I both say it's quite fascinating. So what's the case here? The case of Rabbi say is, what about a ribis amanas lahachzir? Right? What about if, let's say again, they agree that in the event that, let's say, in the event that I pay off the debt, Reuven pays off the debt, or in the event that I go ahead and I buy back the home, that the individual will return the quote-unquote ribis. Can you structure a ribis situation where the affected party agrees to pay back the ribis? Mar savar aser, umar savar mutter. So we'll say it's a fundamental machlokes. One opinion holds that even if the parties agree to pay back the ribis, it is still aser, versus one opinion holds that if the parties agree to pay back the ribis, ultimately the transaction will be mutter. If you look at Rashi for just a moment, Rashi says it's in Divrei HaMaschil, D'choli amot tzad echad beribis. If you look on the first of the wide lines in Rashi on top, so Rashi says, halokech tamim peros she'achal beribis amanas lahachzir plegi umaslisin tana debraisa b'ha plegi detana didan sarat pilu tzad echad nami lo havi do habitoras mecher asli adei. Fine, we don't have to go through Rashi. Good. So that's the machlokas. So meis hamocher yigav. So let's say, interestingly enough, see, here's what we know. What we know is this bias, is this bate arechoma situation a ribis situation? So it is. It's definitely in the ribis family. Is it real ribis? So that depends on how you view a tzad echad beribis transaction. If you're that tzad echad beribis is ribis gemura, then einach hinami this is ribis gemura, but yet the Torah permits it. If you're that tzad echad beribis is mutter, then this situation will really be mutter, even though what? It definitely looks like a ribis situation. Good. Meis hamocher yigal. So the Mishnah said, if the seller died, so his son has the right to redeem the property. So pshita, that's obvious. Ma'al what would you have thought? V'ish kiyim karbeis Moshe HaRachmana v'hai lav machar. So v'hai lav mocher, because the person says that the person who sold the property can redeem it. This son is not the one who sold the property. So I'm going to thought, therefore he can't redeem it. Kamash malan v'haisa gu'ulaso b'chol makom. So therefore we're going to both say the pasuk is v'haisa gu'ulaso. The redemption will occur. Therefore, even the son of the seller has the right to redeem it. If ultimately, again, the seller died, he has the ability to redeem it. If the purchaser died, so the seller could redeem it from the purchaser's son. Pshita, that's obvious as well. What would I have thought? So we'll say the pasuk says you could redeem it from the buyer, from the purchaser, and this person did not purchase it. You redeem it from whoever is holding the property now. So since the son inherited this from his father, therefore the seller could redeem it from the son of the purchaser. Furthermore, again, we only start the clock for the 1 year from the moment that the property was sold. So Tan Rabban, and here we go. Shana in yodeim shana l'rishonim shana l'sheni. We'll say now here's what's interesting. What happens in a situation which you can understand could easily occur where halacha l'maisa, I sell to Reuven and Reuven sells to Shimon. There's nothing wrong with that. You can definitely do that. But the shaila is, in that case, where does the 1 year clock start from? Does the 1 year clock start from my sale to Reuven, the first sale, or the second sale? So watch this. Shana in yodeim shana l'rishon shana l'sheni. I don't know. Does the 1 year clock start from sale 1 or sale 2? Kishu omer ad malos lo shana tamima havi shana l'rishon. Ultimately, again, therefore, from the word shana tamima, I learn that ultimately, again, it's the sale to the first one. Even if the property was subsequently resold a number of times, the 1 year redemption window begins from the first transaction, the first sale. Lemi chalot. Then I will say, what about in this case where the property changed hands multiple times? I sold to Reuven, Reuven sold to Shimon. Let's say I don't exercise my redemption option within the year. So we'll say, what's the shaila? Who becomes the real eternal owner now of that home? Is that Reuven who bought it from me, or is that Shimon who bought it from Reuven? Rabbi Elazar Omer the Rishon Chalut. Rabbi Elazar says, in fact, we'll say after the 1 year, it becomes the permanent property of Reuven, the first buyer, the one who bought it from me. Rabbi Yochanan Omer the Sheni Chalut. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, it becomes the property of the second buyer of Shimon. Bishlam of the Rabbi Elazar Delidei Kamaninon. So according to Rabbi Elazar, who says ultimately again, so Rabbi Elazar makes sense. Rabbi Elazar says that ultimately again, the 1 year window is counted, right, is based on my sell to Reuven. So because this whole transaction is my sell to Reuven, it's Reuven who ultimately keeps the property, the first buyer after the year. El Rabbi Yochanan, my time. So Rabbi Yochanan will say like this: when Reuven sells the property to Shimon, what is he selling to Shimon? He's not just selling the home, but he's selling what? He's selling all rights that he has as the purchaser. When Reuven bought that house from me, I'll say, what was he buying? What was he buying? He was buying right now a home, but what else was he buying? He was buying the option that in the event that I don't redeem that home within the year, then what? He becomes the eternal owner. When Reuven sells that to Shimon, not only does he sell Shimon that home, but ultimately, again, he sells Shimon that right as well. Amar Rabbi Amar Bar Mamu, Machar Shnei Bate Arichoma. Let's listen to this interesting case. If a person sells, I have 2 homes in a walled city, 2 homes in walled cities, and I sell them both. I will say, now watch this. Echad b'chamisha sar ba'adar rishon, ve'echad ba'adar hasheni. So say it's an interesting case. I sell 2 homes, one, and it's a leap year. I sell the first home on the 15th of Adar Rishon, and the second home on the 1st of Adar Sheni. So remember, house number 2 was sold before house number 1. What's the halacha? Zeh shemachar lo ba'adar Sheni. Even she'egia yom echad ba'adar shal shana haba also lo shana. Zeh shemachar lo b'chamisha asar shal adar rishon lo also lo shana ad chamisha asar ba'adar shal shana haba. So we'll say, so an interesting technicality over here. So we'll say, so this is the reverse. I'm selling it now in a leap year. So technically speaking, the one that I sold on the 15th of the one that I sold on the 1st of Adar Sheni. When is its 1 year redemption window closed? When is that up? The 1st of Adar of the next year. Now, we'll say, now, technically speaking, because why? There's only 1 Adar. So, technically speaking, I lose a month. Masha'enkin, interestingly enough, the property that I sold on the 15th of Adar Rishon in the previous year, when does that year end? 15th. So, we'll say, so it turns out that what? The property that was sold earlier, the 1 year ends later. The property that was sold later, the 1 year ends earlier. It's just a calendrical technicality. So the Gemara says, Maskif la Ravina. So Ravina says, but 1 second, Zelo fair. V'lei malei, Anna kadim shachan nura mikamei didach. Say, but I started my fire before yours. Now, supposed to say, technically speaking, the guy who sold, right, the property that sold on the 15th of Adar Rishon was sold earlier than the one that was sold on the 1st of Adar Sheni. Yet the 1 year window for the one that was sold in Adar Sheni closes before the one that was sold in Adar Rishon. Mishum da'amar lei at naches liibura. So ultimately, so we could say to the second guy, listen, you waited for the Ibra year, right? You waited for the leap month. So that's what happens. And as well as I remember again, the Mishnah was speaking about the benefit of the leap month in terms of giving an extra 13th month for the seller to redeem his property. But yet, again, it works in the reverse if you end up selling from a leap year to a regular year. Good. We'll say a similar case, same concept, just in a different context. No dulo shnei teloim. We'll say if a person has 2 sheep, now this is talking about the bachar behema over here, right? The halacha is that you're supposed to offer up the bachar animal within the 1st year. So let's say again, I have 2 sheep that were born. Second wide line, Lamed Aleph on the base. Echad b'chamisha sasha Adar Rishon. One was born on the 15th of Adar Rishon. Ve'echad ba'adar sheni, and one was born on the first of Adar Sheni. Zeh shenolado ba'adar sheni keven shegiyamecha ba'adar shana haba also lo shana. So again, same thing. The one who ultimately again was born on the first of Adar Sheni, when the first of Adar Rishon of the subsequent year comes along, it is now officially a year old and needs to be offered up within that window. Zeh shenolado b'chamisha asar ba'adar Rishon. And I will say the one that was born on the 15th of Adar Rishon, technically speaking, its 1 year window doesn't close until the 15th of Adar. So again, I will say essentially the same thing. The animal that was born earlier seemingly has a longer 1 year window than the one that was born later. But let the older sheep say to the younger one, I was eating greens before you were. So apparently this is a sheep shtach, right? So again, I was, right, I'm older than you. What's going on over here? So Mishon Amarle at nachisa liibura, ana lo nechisa liibura. You waited for the leap year to be born. I didn't wait for the leap year to be born. So I was going to both say, just pointing out this calendrical reality, where technically speaking, you could have a sheep that ultimately again is born earlier, or property that was sold earlier, but yet the window ultimately extends later. So hasulam is supposed to say. So again, I got it. Meaning, I understand this. You illustrated this concept with the case of the bayis bi'er choma. What you have to further illustrate it with the case of bachar behema. Hasulam li hanuach. It's the same exact case. So what would you have said? Hasam, in the case of Bate Arechoma Dichsiv Tamima, the pasuk says Tamima. Hacha Tala Hacha Delo Ksiv Tamima Lo. But in the case of, I'll say ultimately again of the sheep where it doesn't say the word Tamima, I would have thought maybe this halacha doesn't apply. Kamashwan the Shana Mehada Digmiri. Different ones say the pasuk teaches us since they both say Shana, we learn them both out from one another. I learn out the halachos ultimately again of the case of the sheep from the case of the bayis bi'er choma. Good. Says the Gemara, Kishu Omer Tamima, Rabbi Omer Litin Shnasi Bura, Tan Rabbanon, Shana Tamima, when the pasuk says it's a complete year, Rabbi Omer Mona Shlosh Meos V'Shishim V'Chamish Yamim L'Keminyan Yemos Sachamo. So we'll listen to this. So Rabbi understands as follows. We'll say we have a lunar calendar. The lunar calendar has 354 days, as opposed to the solar calendar, which has 365 days. Rabbi says, Shana Tamima teaches me that you have a solar calendar year. You have 365 days in which to redeem your property. The Chachamim say, Mona Shnei Masar Chodesh Miyom Liyom. Chachamim say we count 12 months, literally from one day to this same exact day in the next year. V'im Sabra, and therefore, ultimately, again, if there's an Ibra, all right, if there is a leap year, this Abralo, the extra month, ultimately, again, is counted as part of the year for the seller. We'll say if ultimately, again, the year elapses and the same calendar day of the next year comes along, and the seller has not yet redeemed his property, so it becomes the property of the eternal property of the purchaser. Because the pasuk says, "Let's misos." Tan Rabbanan. Litzmisos lechalutin. We'll say the word litzmisos. That's what it says. It becomes v'kam. What's the lashon of the pasuk? The lashon of the pasuk is that if you don't redeem it in the year, so what's the halacha? So litzmisos lakona osa dorosa loyetze biyovel. It becomes the property of the purchaser litzmisos. What does litzmisos mean? Lechalutin. Literally, the way we translate litzmisos is in perpetuity. In perpetuity, forever. Chalut. The sale is definite. Does not revert back at Yovel. Davar Acher. The other possibility is Litzmisos Lerabos Es Hamatana. Ultimately, again, Litzmisos means what? To include a matana, to include a gift. To include a gift. So my timer. So what does this mean? Litzmisos means that whether you sold the property or you gifted the property, if you don't redeem it within the year, it becomes the absolute property of the purchaser. So the Gemara says, my timer. Samis tzmisus. I'll say, where do you see gift in there? So the Torah could have written a shorter form of tsamis. The fact that it writes a prolonged form of tzmisus indicates that it's coming to teach me something additional. What is it coming to teach me? that a matana is included as well. Amru Rabbanan Kamei de Rav Papa. Ultimately, again, the rabbis said this over in front of Rav Papa. Kimand Lok Rab Meir. This is not the reflective view of Rab Meir. How so? Dikar Rab Meir Amar Matana Ina Kimecha. Rabbi Meir is of the opinion that a gift is not like a sale. And therefore, again, Rabbi Meir would say that when it comes to a gift, that is not governed by the same halachos of a sale. Amar Rav Papa, I feel Tim Rab Meir. Even Rab Meir would agree in the case of Bate Arichoma. Why? Shiny Hacha, the Rabbi Rachmana Litzmisus. It's different over here in the case of Bate Arichoma because you have the extra word of Litzmisus. It could have just said Samis, instead it says Litzmisus. Even Rabbi Meir would agree that that includes a gift. Amar Rabbanan Rav Papa. Va'amar Lei Rafun Red Rav Yeshua Rav Papa. I v'ha gabi yovel d'chsiv tashuvu. The Rabbo says hamatana. So we'll say by yovel it says tashuvu, which means that even a matana returns back to its original owner, and yet Rabbi Meir lo kam arbi. And we'll say even though there's an additional word over there, Rabbi Meir does not agree that a matana is included in the halachos of yovel. So rather, what do you see? Elaha v'adai bel kramer. Rather, we'll say our Mishnah that said that the halachos of Bate Arichom, specifically the 1-year redemption window, applies even to gifts, clearly does not reflect the view of Rabbi Meir. Good. Tana Rabbanan, let's at least begin this. Hamakdish b'ayis b'Bate Arichoma, harei ze goel, the goel liolam. Now listen to this. Switching gears for just a moment over here. Up until now, we were focusing on the sale of a home in a walled city, and again, we've established halachas. You could redeem it immediately. You have a 1-year redemption window. That 1 year goes to the same exact day of the calendar year of the following year. What happens if you consecrate a home in a walled city? I'm not selling it. I'm being makdish it to the Beis HaMikdash. So what's the halacha? Harei ze goel. You have the ability to redeem it. The goel liolam. And I both say there is no 1-year statute of limitations on that, but rather ultimately, again, you have the ability to redeem it forever. Goel lo acher miyad hekdish. If someone else, other than me, the owner, redeemed it from hekdish, then in that case, if the 12-month period elapsed and the original owner did not redeem it from the person who purchased it, hayachalut lo. It becomes the eternal property ultimately of the one who redeemed it from hekdish. So we'll stop over here for today. We'll pick up in Meretz Hashem with this hekdish discussion about Bate Arichoma in Meretz Hashem tomorrow.